So first off, before we get into this, I have to say, installing Linux the right way is not for everybody. If you've never touched Linux, let's say you're not computer savvy, this is probably going to be a bit much for you. So for you users out there, I would recommend Linux Mint. Just go to linuxmint.com and click download and go through their install instructions. For those that have never seen or touched Linux, this is one way I'd probably recommend people get acquainted with it, because it comes with all these tools and all this stuff. But as someone that's used Linux professionally before even doing anything with the desktop, I gotta say, I don't like a lot of the stuff many distributions do. So for me, this is the wrong way. And when I have quotes, when I say the right way, this is the way I considered where I started to really fall in love with Linux, is being able to choose all this stuff. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be Debian. In my prior video, I talked about Debian, Arch, and Fedora. These are base distributions that so many distributions are based off of, that these are the perfect building blocks for the perfect distribution for you, because every distribution, the perfect one is really the one you make. And that's what I want to get into today, is building that right distribution. So let's get into installing. First order of business, Debian.org. This is going to be probably the best one to start with, just because it's so widely used. It's by far, Ubuntu's based on it, Pop! OS, Linux Mint, you name it. There's literally hundreds of distributions based on Debian. And Debian is the building blocks for most modern day Linux desktops. The first hurdle we have to touch with Debian is, this is where it gets a little weird. The downloading the operating system is probably the hardest part of this entire process. I kid you not. So here's how you download Debian. You're going to laugh. You click download. You don't want to download this one, and you don't want to download anything that they recommend, because it's run by neckbeards that don't really understand, and really, I don't think they actually want users to use vanilla Debian. So they don't include unofficial non-free stuff. So if like you want to install an NVIDIA driver, for instance, that's just not going to work out of the box using their one. So we have to find these non-free firmware packages, and they bury them. So if you click on this link, this takes you to a whole long explanation. It's the wrong link, so come back here. So we're still on just the /download. Click unofficial, non-free. You get this file system one. And what I want to do is get you more on the bleeding edge, so you get a little bit newer packages, a better experience, in my opinion. So we want to come to weekly builds, not daily builds, but weekly builds. Click on that. Click on 64-bit, because you're probably on a 64-bit system. And then come into ISO CD, not any of these other ones. This is, I think, Blu-ray disc. This is DVD. Just the base CD will do it, because we're going to download as we install the latest and greatest. And then we're just going to grab firmware testing, not edu. Educational is not what you want. You just want firmware testing. Click this. It's about 600 megs. And this is how you download Debian. Silly. It's completely stupid. If someone from Debian.org watches this, put it in a spot where people could actually download the thing. You shouldn't need to do all this, but again, Debian people don't want you to use Debian. So after you download that ISO, I'd probably get on etcher.io or Belina.io and just download this. It has a Mac client, it has a Windows client, usually installs just fine. If you're on Windows, you could also use Rufus, but basically just create it, plug it. I've done a lot of videos explaining that whole process of creating the USB drive, but for this one, let's just pretend like I made the USB drive with that ISO using Etcher, and then let's get to the boot process. All right, and then we get to our loaded screen here on our computer. So you could do graphical install, but if you're using like NVIDIA card or something in your system, a lot of times this won't work. So I really recommend just doing the base install without graphics. I know that sounds a little scary, but you'll get to that logic. It basically takes out a lot of variables that can kind of trip you up. So we're going to click install. And then we just select our language, which is English, United States. And we'll just select American English at the top. It loads the basic components here, automatically configures our networking, and then we just simply name the system. And I'm just going to call this Debian-testing. Domain name, leave that blank. Root password, don't put anything here. Just hit enter, enter. This disables the root account, which is recommended for security purposes. And then we type in our name, which will be Titus. Titus for the username, and then I'm just going to create a very simple password, and I'm Central Time. And now it says, okay, what do you want to do? Now this is where you will wipe out your disk. Right here it's formatting the disks. I'm just going to use the entire disk, which is just a simple virtual machine, but if you have any other partitioning, you'd do it manually here as well. So let's finish and write our changes. So now it's basically installing the base system. This will take some time. It will download all the latest packages as we do this. So the whole point of us doing it this way is we're not going to have these large downloads after we finish installing the system, because this was created literally yesterday from the Debian organization, which is great. So a lot of times when you're distro hopping, they make that distro ISO like 6 months or a year ago, and then you go to update it after install, and you're like, oh, I guess I got to wait another hour while it downloads, like 20 gigs of data from all the packages that were just installed now to be updated. So that's why we do it this way. And you can see right here as it's finishing up the base system, it's installing Linux image 5.18, which is one of the latest. So that's why this is a very different install than many distributions. I think Ubuntu is on like 5.14. Same with like Linux Mint, which is based on Ubuntu. And a lot of their base stable packages are a little bit different in this one, where you're going to get more, you get a little closer to Arch, I should say, than your traditional install, which basically just means we're going to have a lot more up-to-date stuff. I can't emphasize that enough. Now we can configure the package manager. We're going to do scan for extra media. We're just going to say no extra media. I'm in the States. You can choose whatever archive mirror. If you're unsure, just choose the top one, Debian.org. I do know LeaseWeb has a Dallas-Fort Worth mirror, so since I'm in Dallas, I'm going to select this one. But for most people, you'd select the top one. We're about 5 minutes or so into this installation. Now I want to run through and give you some visual cues of what you're selecting here. Typically you always have this top one selected. This is just your desktop one, and the bottom one, standard system utilities, you also will have that selected. So now you have these things in between. This is the desktop environment. If you don't know what that is, check out my last video. I'm going to just show the desktop kind of what you'd see. It's obviously going to differ from what I'm about to show you, but I just want to prepare you. First off is GNOME. It looks like this. XFCE will probably look something like this. KDE looks like this. Absolutely love it. It's my personal favorite, KDE. Cinnamon is not going to look like this. This is actually what we're going to install today. We're going to mimic what Linux Mint kind of would look like, because Cinnamon's designed by the Linux Mint team. So we're going to install that today. Mate, which will look like this. LXDE, don't use that one. LXDE is like a depreciated desktop environment, and LXQT is its successor. So you would want LXQT. It's an active development, and it's still a very lightweight one. Out of everything you see here, LXQT will be the lightest weight. So if you're installing this on a potato, install LXQT. It's very reminiscent of what you see in like Ubuntu. And then those bottom two options are like web server and SSH. That's if you're doing like a web server or remoting into the system. So for this one, we're going to uncheck GNOME and select Cinnamon, emulating a Linux Mint install. Now this is going to take a while, as it is downloading the most up-to-date version of that, which is, 1,600 packages. So I do anticipate this taking close to 10 to 15 minutes, even though it's saying, oh yeah, there you go. It was saying 1 minute, but yeah, now an update, I was like, nah, that's not right. So yeah, give this a minute, walk away, grab a cup of coffee, and I'll see you here shortly. All right, so all the base packages were installed, and now we have our desktop environment, and you're presented Grub bootloader. This is just basically giving us a boot menu. We'll hit yes to this, and then usually you just select the drive that you're installing it to. In this instance, there's only one drive, so we're just selecting that. Once that's finished, you'll see a couple progress bars, and then we have finished the install. So we'll hit continue. This should reboot, and on reboot, we should have a working desktop. And here we are with our boot screen. Automatically boot in. And this is going to look a lot like Linux Mint, but you'll notice it doesn't have as many packages as Linux Mint. And we also change up like the boot screen and things like that. So let's log in, and we're presented with all the stuff you would normally see in a full Linux Mint. Obviously, we're going to change a couple things, like obviously fixing the resolutions first. Go to our preferences and display. And then we can select like a 1080p should be good, or I might just do 720 just so we have a little bit more of a blown up view. Actually, we're going to go here and keep this configuration. So now we have our settings done. We have a very Mint-esque look and feel to it. Obviously, you can change a lot of the look and feel here. But the reason why I really like this system is, one, we can change a lot of different things here. Let's just do an apt install neofetch, and we'll just do a neofetch to see. So this is about 1,800 packages. I think Linux Mint's in the 2000, mid 2000s on install, so quite a bit less packages to get functional. Same system, obviously, which is really, really nice. And I'm going to just change a little couple things. That why we start this way, why it's the right way, is because we're starting from a really good base. We get to pick out pretty much everything we want with the system. I would probably install like time shift for backup, because Linux Mint has time shift out of the box. So let's say something does go wrong with your system. I would actually recommend having like a Mint ISO, just because it has such a good tool set. It's just some people won't use all those tools, and it's just so nice to have a really nice clean slate right out of the gate. But why I say don't install this as a noob, because you're not going to know what you're going to want. So having Mint or Pop! OS, those are really good for folks that just don't know what they want. And you can kind of keep inventory of all the programs you use on those systems. And that way, when you do a fresh, clean slate like we're seeing with Debian here, you'll have all the programs that you use, but not all the extra stuff that you don't. Now that we've had this, we still can make a couple changes, which I'm going to do right now to get it a little bit more up to date. First off, I'm going to change the preferences on our terminal, because, wow, I think I'm making people blind by this. So let's just go with like a green on black. It's pretty solid. And then, let's change the look and feel a little bit too. And we'll just go down to preferences, themes for that. And themes, let's change this default. And actually, I think we can probably add and remove here. Yeah, let's just go with a Nocto. Download that guy. That looks like a solid one. And we'll come back to our themes, and we'll just click this, select that. I guess we'll leave that with Auto and that. And yeah, that sounds good to me. And theme this out a little bit. Probably for icons, I would change that to like a papyrus. But it's kind of neat that you can kind of select a lot of this stuff. So right here, just doing an apt update. We've already installed like neofetch, just so you can see that. You can see that everything's already up to date, which is kind of nice. Doing it this method, you don't have like the double update and upgrade sections. But we can easily make this even faster. We will just go do like a vim of apt in sources.list. Or you could do like nano if you want to use nano. I really like vim, so I'm going to use vim. Either way, any editor will work here. So now we can just do our vim, and we can see all the bookmark ones right here. I'm going to change this around a little bit just to kind of show a couple different things. So let's say you want to be a little bit more bleeding edge instead of Bookworm, which is the latest version of Debian. I don't think it's quite released. It's in testing right now. We're going to go to SID. And that's like the development branch. So you get a little bit newer packages by doing this, but you'll still see it's not like a crazy amount. I bet we get like maybe 1,000 packages to update, but let's see. Yeah, actually, it's about 100 packages going from testing to SID. So really not that big of a change here. I'm also going to make one change. This is actually going to be a future video. Instead of using this old mirror, I actually have a special mirror. And I'll probably do like a little how-to article running your own Linux mirror. I might label that video as, hey, you should do this before the end of the world happens, because this means I would download every package known to man that Debian has to offer as of, it actually updates itself. So instead of going out to the internet to install packages and update things, I have an entire localized Debian mirror. So we'll upgrade this, just do an upgrade. You see the download for this is substantial, about 127 megabytes a second. So that's why I run my local mirror. I install Linux so much that I just like that. But anyways, we switched to the SID branch now. Obviously, you're not going to change to a local mirror unless you're crazy like me. And now we're just going to do a base install of this. All right, and there we go. So this is all done. We can give it a little reboot just so you can see that. And we'll just hit restart and we'll select that on startup. We can even remove like the boot menu, you know, all this just gives you a really good base. And there we go. So this is what you get. You do have like a browser, a couple little things like obviously Thunderbird for email, some basic games. You got LibreOffice installed by default. Still a little bit more bloat than I'd like, but it does give you just the bare necessities with just a good tool set right out of the gate. Now, if you didn't want all these tools installed on the get-go, you could actually take off a lot of this during the install process, but it does complicate things. So I wanted to show the base install for folks, and then you can cull it down after the fact. So like, let's say there's something in here that you did not like let's say a lot of these games, you could actually come in here and remove a lot of these by either purging it from terminal or using, so coming from an administration software, you can actually come through here and let's say you wanted to uninstall some of these games, and we'll just authenticate, uninstall Solitaire. I don't have like a CD writer here. We could remove that and just kind of flip through, uninstall the things that you're not going to use, and just get like a really basic system to build on. And you'll notice that it's going to run really fast. It's going to be very intuitive, just like Linux Mint is out of the box. But after uninstalling all that, you have this perfect base system to work with. I encourage people to try this out, pick whatever desktop environment you like, and then install it from this section if you're familiar with Debian. Now, you can do the same thing with Fedora. You can do the same thing with Arch. Obviously, Arch kind of is built for this. And that's the beauty of this kind of layout. Instead of just doing distributions where a lot of people will distro hop, I think that's fine in the beginning, just so you can understand what programs you like and don't like and what desktop environments you like and don't like. But once you actually start to gain some knowledge, a lot of these branch distributions, hey, Titus, look at this distribution. I don't even care because I can do and make everything in that distribution without all the garbage that comes with it, or the stuff, I shouldn't say garbage, the stuff I don't use. And then I have a system that literally has everything I need and only that, which is kind of the beauty of Linux, the beauty of computing, and how I like to use my computers. Even when I'm on Windows, I try to debloat as much as I possibly can. And, you know, same with Mac, I like to try and cut off a lot of those built-in apps and stuff that come with it. It's just a good way of working on a computer. You get more from it. So with that, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below, and I'll see you in the next one.